Jenny, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So I guess here we are trying to figure this all out, right? This is going to be
Yes,
crazy.
yes.
Um, I don't know. I think this is going to be an interesting journey that we're going to document.
Hmm.
As far as we know, and as far as anyone who might be out there listening knows, all we have is this faint idea of something really cool that could potentially not only light the fire in our heart as far as our passion for what we want to do for people, but also has the potential to impact lives. I think that's about the extent of what we know. So this is
Yes.
really going to be about documenting our journey and having people watch along as we try to figure this thing out. Crazy, right?
Yeah. But I think that's the fun part, like we talked about.
Yeah, that is the absolutely going to be the fun part. And I personally have never listen to a show format like this. It might exist, but I haven't listened to it. So I think it'll be a unique listening experience too. A little voyeur-esque, if you will.
Yes. From the beginnings of what we want to do and
Yeah.
talking it through. Hmm.
Yeah. It could be something really cool to look back on in years to come. I like your idea of just kind of documenting where this started, like this guy from Cleveland and this gal from Texas, and what the heck are we doing? So
Ah,
you brought up this good idea. Why don't we just kind of start with, your journey that led to us working together, and then, we'll talk about where we are now. Does that sound good?
yeah, yeah. Um, so this is totally unrehearsed. I would say my journey of meeting you and then getting to where we are now began with me being a CrossFit coach, and realizing I had the opportunity to really have an impact on people's lives just for that 1 hour, and
Yeah.
being very honored to have that opportunity. Um, you know, members would come and go, and one day somebody said, I see you more than I see my other immediate family. And I thought, that's true. What a privilege that I get to see someone pretty daily, right? And their other immediate family may not even get to see them that much. And I think my world began to feel bigger than just coaching movements into being able to be a part of people's lives. And through that, I was kind of encouraged and asked if I would start to teach people about nutrition. And I didn't have at the time any kind of certifications. And then I pursued certifications and began to nutrition coach people, and then get even more and more into their lives, into who they are and their world. And again, super honored to do that. And so I began thinking, wow, it'd be so cool to be like a life coach. What is it? The guru. I don't know what that is, but I felt
Yeah.
like I was always talking to people more about their lives than just food. And so my boss sent me I think it was actually an email about a business model. And I remember I read the email and I agreed with whatever the email said, but at the very bottom, I kept scrolling down. It was a little, I guess, a link. And it said, "Did you ever want to know what a life coach was? Listen to this podcast." And I was like, I do want to know. And so I clicked that podcast. And the reason it appealed to me, honestly, is because it was short. It was like
Yeah.
only maybe 20 or 30 minutes. And I thought, I can do this. I don't want to do an hour or something
Mhm.
like that. And on that podcast, I'm sure you know this. This was you. It was you being interviewed by somebody.
It was but interviewed by Chris Cooper. Yep. Of Two Brain Business.
Okay. Okay. And so I remember everything you said. I was like, oh, that seems so cool. That seems kind of what I think I do. And this is what I remember about you, is that you said you were an integrated coach.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember saying that,
Mhm.
but I took it as that you not only could teach someone about physical movement, you could teach them about their life as well. And it sounded so cool. And so like what I was wanting to do. And then at the end, you said something like, okay, anybody who wants to talk to me for like 15 minutes, I'll talk to you about anything you want. And I was like, if you could have seen me, I was like, I want to talk to you. So I think you had a little click the link to your calendar. And I booked a little 15-minute session with you. And my question was to you, if you remember, was what certifications do I need? Yep. How do I make this legit? How do I make this crossover from a nutrition coach to more of a life coach?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that clearly. I remember actually we had a couple initial calls before we decided to formally work together in like a coach-client relationship. But they all happened to be when I was at training for my kids for soccer. I remember that very, very clearly. And that first call, I had dropped off either my son or my daughter. And I let them run inside so they could start training. And I sat on the phone with you and had that call in my Jeep. And I remember thinking after that call, because you had asked that question. And do you remember my answer?
That I didn't need any certs.
Yeah. Just start. Just start. Yeah. And and I think, well, I remember kind of encouraging you that what you were doing already was a lot like life coaching. In a way, you were already doing that. Just because of your totally unique approach to nutrition, in that it's food and life. So I kind of knew right away. I'm like, right, she's going to get it. She's going to understand. She's going to knock it out of the park. So it was a real privilege to, serve you a couple times just over the phone before we're able to kind of link up as coach and client.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was really cool.
I remember there are times in my life, and I had mentioned this to you earlier, there are times in my life when it's like, I feel like maybe I was doing that, but I needed permission, so to speak, because I walked off, or I came off of that phone call kind of like, okay, I think I am doing it. I think I really am. And I don't have to do anything different than what I'm already doing. If anything, I'm encouraged to keep doing what I do.
Yeah.
And it's like your answer gave me permission to start to see myself differently.
Yeah.
To my clients. And I will tell you, I went back the next day able to serve them from a whole different place in my heart of, hey, I am doing this.
That's brilliant. I love that. Especially how it ties into, I think, where we are now. So I think I'll fast forward through our year plus of like a formal coach-client relationship. Yeah, that story really resounds with me to the point where I think I'm getting a little bit misty. Because I think by and large, what we might end up doing is just really being that catalyst for people to give them permission to see the potential in themselves for the first time, to step out and do the thing they were afraid to do, because whether it's through, interactions or lack of interactions through parenting or any other interactions in life, they feel like they don't have that permission. And I think we might find ourselves in a position to be the ones to say, we see that little greatness in you right there. We see it. And you should step out and do something with that. I'm going to rewind a little bit. So I had a call, one of our 6-month quarterly contracts was up. And I reached out to Jennie. I'm like, hey, let's just call and just touch base, see where we might want to go next. It could be another, 3-month contract. We could, decide we're good and we'll go our separate ways. So I remember as I was talking to you, I asked you a little bit about your ideal person that you'd want to serve, because that is so critical in not just your coaching business, but in any business really, is understanding who you want to serve from a psychographic standpoint, not a demographic like, oh, women between 40 and 45, not so much that, remember as you were describing your sort of person, something like leapt in me, like, ooh, that sounds really familiar. Brendon, that kind of sounds like your why. And this really sneaky thing is Jennie has no clue. But after I heard that, all she's laughing. After I heard that, all of my questions were completely subversive and selfish. Because I'm like, wait a second. She has a why that is similar to mine. The person she wants to serve is similar to mine. Wonder if we might work together. And Jennie has no idea. None. So I'm asking her a couple questions like, how do you see yourself delivering your services? And, this, that, and I'm asking all these, I'm taking notes. I keep, when I'm on calls, I keep 3x5 note cards and I take notes. I'm scribbling all these notes and I'm debating at the end. And I don't know at what point you were like, what the heck's going on here? But I'm like hemming and hawing and stopping and starting. And I'm like, I'm just going to spit it out. I'm like, Jennie, I think we should work together. And you're like, what do you mean? Like, work together how? I'm like, as like coach and coach, like, I think we have a same mission. So why don't we just work on it together?
Yeah.
Did you have an idea that I was fishing for something?
No. In fact, I thought that phone call was so weird. I was like, why is he asking me this? We've already gone over this. I feel like, the very first few sessions, we really honed in on who I wanted to serve and who that person was and what I wanted to offer. And I thought, so in my head, I was like, he's going to drop me? Like, let's wrap you up and then send you off. I was thinking, well, he's going to drop me? Or does he not remember that we've already talked about all this? So even from the get-go, I thought it was weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally
but I was like,
selfish of me.
Well, I just kept answering.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever had one of those experiences or conversation, but like you said, you just kept answering. But as you kept answering, I felt like validation. Like, this is clicking.
Yeah.
And I personally try to live a life that's sensitive to the spirit. Like, all right, God, what are you trying to tell me here? And sometimes I feel like I'm just taking a leap of faith. Like I don't have clear guidance or assurance or direction, right? Because, it's not like something's written in the sky or a text message pops up on your phone. It's very, very intuition, very gut.
Mm-hmm.
As strong as I've ever felt my intuition, and I'm not nearly as intuitive as you, as strongly as I've ever felt it, it was like, no, Brendon, you need to pitch this idea to Jennie. And the best thing about it is we really don't know what the heck it looks like, do we?
No.
All we know is we have a similar mission with similar people, a similar target.
Yes.
But I guess this is about, we're hashing it out in real time.
We are, yeah. And I think, so in our phone call last week, I was like, we should have recorded this.
Yes. Oh, yes, we should have.
But I think whether or not we have a solid foundation of how is this going to work, our mission is the same. And you were just talking about it when you kind of got misty-eyed when you're like giving people permission. And what I landed on last week was like to tell people like, you got what it takes.
Yes. Oh,
like you got what it takes. Right? Because I was thinking this today, the whole world is telling us constantly we don't have what it takes and we need to do and be and buy what they're offering so that we can have what it takes when we really do. Like it is God given to each of us that we have what it takes. And I think you and I both get so excited about having the opportunity to tell people that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think for me, when I heard that, when those words were spoken to me, you have what it takes, that was so incredibly significant. And that changed everything. Kind of similar to that word permission is validation. For me, that's what it was. It was validating. And I'm thankful that I've had amazing parents. Some people, especially men, some men who never got that validation from their dad, that they're good enough, they have what it takes. This could be a very haunting experience, searching for that validation in all the wrong places and really going through life never thinking that you have what it takes. And I'm fortunate enough that I had it, but still getting that validation as an adult again was massive, absolutely massive. Yeah. So it makes me want to then turn around, say, who else needs to hear this? Who else is waiting to come alive but are too afraid because they don't have the validation or the permission. They don't know that they have what it takes yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had breakfast this morning with a good friend of mine. We get together about on a monthly basis. There's so many commonalities. We've been friends for going on decades now. He was my friend when I was a pastor and has kind of stuck through me through thick and thin and the transition out of that and all that good stuff. But we were talking this morning at breakfast about my why statement. And I was actually telling him about the conversation you and I were about to have. And I read it to him. And even just saying it again out loud over coffee and breakfast, like I got goosebumps and chicken skin. And I guess it's a good time for me to go ahead and say it for the audience. But my why statement is to be inspired and to inspire others to discover and live their redemption story. And my heart just fluttered just saying those words. I think there's stuff to unpack there. Like, number one, I'm inspired by that. When I see an underdog like overcome the odds and become what no one thought they could become, like, I love that. So it's inspiring for me. And then if I have the chance to be inspiration for them in some way, shape, or form, that leads to them finding their redemption story, living it, like, holy smokes, if I could do that for the rest of my life, I will have lived an incredibly full life. It would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And while you kind of worded yours like your own unique way, like so much about what you said in that last coaching call brought that back up in me. Because you use terms like, underdog, people who, I wish I still had my notes. I might still have them. I could find the 3x5 index card around here. But no, I kept it. It's probably in my drawer. But, you said things that really made that all come alive in me again, which was just, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. As you were saying your why statement, and I've heard it several times, I had a little bleep of fear that you were going to ask me why my why statement, but I don't have it as succinct as that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think my why comes just like yours through lots of life experience. I'm going to have a birthday, let's say Friday, Sunday, and I absolutely love getting older. And I've told you this before.
Yeah.
Because I have experience. I have a life lived that I can offer someone else. It's like no one else can be my age and no one else can have the experiences I have. And what I get to do with that is offer it to other people.
Yes.
If they want to hear it. And I think about yours is like the inspiration. And I think about when I first began kind of learning who I was and healing, I saw myself as a little pebble, and I think I've told you this, as a little pebble being thrown out into a pond or a river. And I think we all have that experience of throwing something and seeing it ripple out, right?
Yeah.
It ripples. And so I would picture myself and my family as the little drop of a stone, and that as I got better and healthy, it just rippled and rippled and rippled and rippled and touched those close to me and then those close to those people. And it just became this compounding, beautiful effect. And I think what inspires me is knowing even one little thing we can tell someone or help someone or lead them on, the impact it makes to the whole rest of their world is huge. It's so cool. And I think that's what you feel, that I feel, that I think we forget in our world too, is that we're made to live in a community. And so healing and all the things, the inspiration, it occurs together. Right? And so that's like, I think us working together is a part of that community, but even then that impact we get to make is how we're made. I think we forget, especially now, especially after COVID, right? We isolate, and I have to remind myself, like, actually, I am made to be connected to other people and impacting other people.
Spot on. That's huge. And I think I see that happening not only with what you and I are endeavoring to do, because, you might be able to, well, not might, you could absolutely, and you have coached on your own, and I absolutely have coached on my own. We've had impacts individually. So much more so if we're able to come together in a community of two, right? Say, how can we now work together to multiply our impact? It's not simply your impact plus mine. There's like this exponential effect that's going to happen because we are, like you said, designed to live in community. And then also, I think who we're going to help, I see that happening in community. Like, will there be one-on-one like coaching and help? Probably. Like, we're still figuring this out, but I see so much happening in community as well, because a lot of it is understanding that there are millions of people just like you. You're not alone in this. And all those people, not only are they on a similar journey, you're experiencing it in your unique way and through your own lenses and through your own life, but not only are they on a similar journey, but they're there to cheer you on too. Going back to breakfast this morning, my friend asked me, he's like, so what are you guys going to do together? Is it like, coaching? Is it, are people going to, take in through what you have to say through, books or podcasts, or will it be like a community you're going to make? And I pointed at him and I said, yes. And he laughed.
That's what I was going to say. All of that.
Yes. We don't know, but all of those things. There's obviously this podcast that's happening. There could be written things, whether it's a blog or a book. There could be one-on-one coaching. There's hopefully going to be community events. But I think that's the awesome part of what we're doing here. We are figuring this out as we go. And to my last point, we're inviting people on the journey with us. Like, let's figure this out in community. Like, come along on the journey. Like, watch and listen to Jennie and I kind of bumble our way through this and have these wonderful serendipitous, God moments where it's like, oh my goodness, yes. Because like you said at the very beginning, like, I didn't have a chance to script any of this. Like, we've scripted nothing.
No.
I think we had a couple text messages leading up to this, like, we'll kind of talk about this. And it's a couple lines of text messages, a couple characters. And then we tried to figure out our tech issues and we just hit record. And it's going to be super exciting to see what unfolds and where these first conversations of the origin story take us, and we'll see what forms and what mistakes we make and how things evolve and become what become what they're meant to be.
Yes, we're taking the first step. We're doing it together and we're recording it. I like it.
It's gonna be crazy. That's good.
It's the fun part. Well, the whole thing's going to be the fun part.
Yep.